Welcome everybody to the Liquor Loot Investor webinar today. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Emily. I'm a campaign manager at Birchal, and I've got Joel with me from Liquor Loot. Welcome, Joel.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me, and thanks everyone for joining and for showing so much interest in the company.
Thanks so much for coming. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll be answering after a short presentation from Joel. Joel, if you'd like to take it away, please feel free.
Thank you very much. I thought I'd get started with a little bit of a background on Liquor Loot and kind of getting into our goals, where we've been, where we're going. And then we'll end with a bit of a Q&A as well. So really the journey started for me when I noticed the path from distillery to consumer was very much broken. And that came from my personal experience trying to educate myself in the world of whiskey and finding that I could only really commit to a full bottle or I could go to an expensive bar, and both of those didn't really match my desires and my need at the time for learning more about whiskey and spirits in general, and that was reiterated by a lot of other customers, a lot of other consumers that we had interviewed in the beginning. So there's really an overwhelming consumer choice out there, but lack of consumer insights lead to slow-moving products on retail shelves, price competition, and buyer confusion. So some surveys that we have done recently this last couple of months in May have put that customers really prefer a tasting experience and gifting as well to reduce the risk of buying something that gift recipient may not like. So tasting packs, tasting experiences are definitely a trend moving forward because it does solve a lot of consumer problems. And there's also some really interesting solutions out there for distilleries as well. So as a company, we're operating as a e-commerce subscription model. So there's some similar kind of software as a service like features and some advantages over traditional e-commerce peers, I should say. So essentially we have two main revenue streams. One's online and the other is offline. So when I mean offline, we're talking about retailers, wholesale accounts that we have set up, corporate accounts, events, that type of thing, as well as our traditional e-commerce, which we've built in a subscription methodology and subscription revenue from, and that typically attracts a lower cost per acquisition, quicker payback periods. And we use, I guess, the different business models together to have efficiencies within our operations as well, which we'll get into further into the crowdfunding document as well. So our key belief essentially is that the largest liquor companies of tomorrow won't just distill their own products, but rather like Uber and Airbnb and the like, will connect consumers and products together with a data-driven personalization. And essentially, that's the market that we believe we're aiming for and we're playing in. So Liquor Loot will be able to unlock this unrealized potential in matching products to individual taste preferences for all liquor verticals globally. That's our goal, our aspiration. That's where we want to head. So it's really connecting the consumer to their idealized product and using the data that we're collecting from consumers to essentially make that personalized experience data-driven. So the easiest way to think about the business, and I don't really like to use examples that much of other businesses, but HelloFresh is a great one. They've done some wonderful work in the world of groceries and what they're doing to essentially streamline the process for consumers at home, as well as their marketing and product development that they've achieved as well. So our business model today focuses on providing solutions for consumers to discover and learn more about spirits. This is also allows us to have a relationship not only with the consumer, but with the distillery. So essentially the long-term objective of the business is to extend our service offering to provide distilleries as well, with unmatched insights on consumers. And that's really a solution that stemmed from conversations that we've had with a lot of distillery partners, where the majority, the bulk of their revenue actually comes from retailers. So if you sell into a massive retailer, you really just know which distribution center your pallets are going to, but you don't know anything about the end consumer, the purchase occasion, what they thought about the particular product, and actually developing that relationship over time. So that's where we want to be able to position ourselves to provide those consumer insights back to distilleries, and that will form part of an additional revenue stream in the future as well. So comparing us to, say, a bar or a bottle shop, or even an alcohol delivery app, we believe there's some distinct advantages with the Liquor model. So we provide a lot of variety. Our focus is really on education and trial, where consumers are wasting less because they're not buying products that they end up not liking. And if you have a product sitting on a shelf that goes to sitting on a cabinet, it's no better. It's just going to collect dust, and there's a wasted opportunity there to actually have an enjoyable experience for a consumer. We try and make our products as affordable as possible while maintaining a very strong margin compared to other businesses in the spirits space, and providing access, most importantly, to unique distillery products from around the world. So things that you typically wouldn't find in your local bottle shop. And our e-commerce platform is really built for a great experience online. It's not just a typical subscription offering. We offer videos and a dashboard to essentially go through your experience month by month and learn and grow as a consumer. And my belief, and what we've noticed as well within the business, is that consumers that experience more and learn more typically buy more as well. So it's a great added benefit to what we're doing, and allows consumers and the business to both grow at the same time. Comparing us to a traditional model in the liquor world, in a retail environment, the distillery would go to an importer, go to a distributor, and then go to a retailer, and everyone is taking a clip along the way. Our model, we work directly with distilleries. If we're not working directly with the distilleries, then we're working with an importer. That would be the only difference there. We believe this allows us to have a lot more, a much better, closer relationship with that distillery, which can provide benefits to the consumer at the end of the day as well. The model is a demand-driven model, so we know exactly what our consumers are needing from the business, and we can predict with the subscription, and we've been doing it for a number of years now, what products we need for the next month, for instance. There's a high frequency of orders, as you'll see further in the details of the business. It's not as capital intensive as other businesses like setting up a distillery, and there's a lot of consumer loyalty there. So a couple of highlights so far. We've done shipped over 1 million spirit samples, processing over 10 million in sales. To date, we have raised previously with strategic investors around 2.7 million, and that really has gone into the growth in terms of operations and staff, and making sure that we have the product in the right place at the right time for the retailers that we've onboarded. A lot of that has gone into cash flow and elements of the business that have evolved over time. For instance, in the last round, we used a lot of that for facilitating some of our retail deals, and now we've got trade finance in place because we've grown to a certain point and we've got particular trade customers, and those invoices and POs are much easier to get trade finance for than we were at when we were smaller. We're currently working with over 200 distilleries on the platform, Our average GP sits at 40%, but the products range between 30 and 60. We're arranged at Dan Murphy's and David Jones, amongst others. And we've been invested in by Koala founder Danny Milham, who's maybe more well-known for Milk Run at the moment, as well as Gandil Invest, amongst others. A bit of a review of the growth financially to date. As you can see, it's a little bit lumpy there. So we are a seasonal business at the moment, and that is part of our management strategy moving forward to move away from this lumpiness, and that will be a real focus for the business around opening different markets where that seasonality is maybe more so in the beginning of the year. At the moment, we are growing around 250% year on year, with the last 12 months bringing in about 6 million in revenue, and a GP of around 40%. So as you can see, we've monitored our GP over the last couple of financial years, and the GP has increased over the last 3 years by 1 percentage point each year, 38, 39 and 41, sorry. And that is essentially a trend that we want to continue. We wouldn't be a business that gets 50 or 60% margins, but we're very happy with a 40% average GP over the past 3 years. More important than just the financials and just the health of the business is what our customers think about us. So we recently did a survey to get a better understanding of consumers and how they would rate their experience, both on Whiskey Loot and Gin Loot. I've just pulled some results here for the Whiskey Loot brand, and as you may see today, the brands are actually combined. That happened recently, so that's liquorloot.com, which hosts the Whiskey Loot and Gin Loot products. So as you can see, we still have a great experience rating from active customers, and even our cancelled customers rate us pretty well as well, which goes to show how strong the experience has been. Even if people do cancel, they're not cancelling because they've had a terrible experience. They are cancelling or pausing for a number of different reasons. So I thought I'd put the positive in here as well as the not so positive and the things that we need to work on in the future. So why are people cancelling? There's COVID there. Obviously, we had a bit of a spike with COVID, but some people actually cancelled during that as well. Price, that's always going to be an issue no matter what you sell at whatever price. There's always people that decide that they can no longer afford it within their budget. 12-month subscription ended. That's something around a product feature that we're obviously looking to improve upon to make sure that people can easily upgrade their subscription as they move from that 12-month period onwards. And then other smaller feedback that we can see there. I had a backlog of tasting packs, so they maybe weren't drinking as much as they thought they would. So a little bit of a backstory here. Obviously, we've got to the point where we're asking customers a very detailed analysis of their experience, and we have hundreds of reviews and hundreds of survey results coming in. But we've actually been doing this since the very beginning. So before the business was launched, this was actually our co-working space. And I don't think we actually had a website at this stage. It was just getting feedback and getting an understanding of what people would want and going through some packaging options. And from there, the business really did explode. So we were actually packing bottles in the co-working space, which was definitely not efficient, but it grew so quickly we didn't have enough time to get a proper location within the first couple of months there, and it continued to grow as we expanded into different warehouses, and the business needed more space, obviously, there. So this was our more permanent location last year, towards the beginning of last year, sorry. And we've outgrown that one already. And as you can see, the space is a lot bigger now. And we are actually in the process of trying to find a replacement to this, which will see us through the next 3 years of growth as well. A little team photo there and our updated team photo here. So a little bit more on the brand, because I know a lot of customers are here and they've heard about it, heard about the crowdfunding through our email list, and they're very interested in the brand. They love the brand. So I thought I'd talk a little bit more about our mission, which is a little bit more of the behind the scenes of the business. So at Liquor, we build thoughtful, customer-centric shopping experiences for explorers to taste and discover spirits. So there's a couple of points here I want to pick out. So building physical products and tech as well for both retail and e-commerce. Thoughtful is really about making sure that whatever solutions we create, it makes the consumer's life easier. Customers and subscribers are at the center of these solutions. We do have our customers also being distilleries, so customer-centric also takes that into account. And a revolutionary shopping experience that starts with tasting. To date, as you can see, with say Dan Murphy's or BWS, there is limited information on their websites in the retail environment to really understand whether you're going to like it. And if you're going to spend $150, $200 on a premium bottle of liquor, then you really do want to understand whether that's going to be something you enjoy. So the real goal here in creating experience is actually to create a personalized experience and a data-driven experience that enables people to reduce the risk of buying something they might not like. So we're here for exploration, we're here for beginners, and we're also here for experts. And always focusing on that tasting experience. We're focused on spirits. We're not going to get into wine. We're not going to get into beer. Those markets are already saturated. We really envisage the business being an owner of the spirit space. Our vision is to become the most trusted and personalized platform on earth that empowers consumers, empowers and connects consumers with the world's best spirits. So we're experts and we make and showcase our expertise to customers. Take people on a personalized journey through spirits. As I mentioned earlier, we really want that experience to be data-driven, and that personalization online comes from the data that we're collecting. I've used the word platform here, not e-commerce, because we're not just an e-commerce site. There are plans in the future to create an app, to create a holistic experience online, and to connect in with other websites as well. And we're thinking on a global scale. It's always been a global idea from day one, and it's something that will work in multiple countries around the world. We believe it will work in multiple countries around the world. Empowerment comes down to educating and inspiring customers at the end of the day. And obviously these customers are part of a community of spirit lovers. So connecting our consumers together is also very important. And obviously, if we're going to be on a global scale, then we're going to work with the world's best distilleries. And it's important to understand that it's not just distilleries that sell their product around the world, but it's the individual products in those local countries, even if they might not be exported. We want to be a platform that connects the weird and wonderful spirits, even if they're not as popular, to people from different countries. And distilled spirits, including cocktails. Once again, we're not focusing on wine or beer. So our why is really to ignite and nurture a piqued interest into a sustained enjoyment. So we're not about getting drunk and just drinking for the sake of it here. It's about developing that interest, starting that journey. And using trust and confidence to get through that knowledge hurdle. And there is a big knowledge hurdle around spirits, and we really want to make sure that it is a lifelong passion that people develop, a sustained enjoyment that is done in a meaningful way. a piqued interest in spirits is already there to nurture. So the real pillars of the organization are physical products, user experience, and data or intelligence. So the tasting packs and bottles are available in retail and online. The user experience, we really want to build a thoughtful, customer-centric shopping experience for explorers to taste and discover spirits both online and offline, and creating valuable, sellable data and intelligence, both for us as well as the distilleries that we work with. So a little bit more on our growth. We're really building a strong foundation, we believe, based on a few key pillars within the business. So we've got subscriptions, we've got full bottles. When I say subscriptions, I'm talking about really the product at the core at the end of the day is a tasting experience, whether that's online or offline. It uses the same fundamentals of a tasting bottle put together by a range of distilleries in a retail or online tasting pack. Now, what connects all of that together is a data engine, which we're in the process of building out, and we've got some R&D grants to help us achieve that as well. So this combination of putting together and merging gin loot and whiskey loot together is to really make sure that we can tie everything under one platform and have a cross-vertical recommendation engine. So even if you might like gin or whiskey or vodka, the information that you're providing and the intelligence that we can gather will help us make recommendations for other spirits as well. What underpins that is a brand. Obviously, it's Liquor Loot, and the experience, the customer service, everything that we offer our customers at the end of the day, which makes up that experience. And obviously, none of this would be possible without an amazing team and the technology, the infrastructure, the insights, and the capital that really go hand in hand to building the business. From a growth perspective, we're focused on developing essentially what I call a flywheel of growth. And I think this underpins a lot of the success of our business to date, as well as what we can do in the future to continue that. So it starts off with growing our subscriber base and order rates leading to scale. When you have better scale, you can realize better marketing leverage, lower cost per acquisition, and lower cost of goods. Increasing that contribution margin per customer allows you to invest further. So investing in digital capabilities, distillery solutions, operational improvements, which hopefully at the end of the day, if you're doing it correctly, delivers a better customer experience to your consumers, whether that's, as I mentioned, the distillery or the actual end consumer, which provides with more orders, better personalization, and better recommendations, which can also help attracting better relationships with those distilleries. If we're getting more customers and they're ordering more, then we have more of a bargaining power with distilleries, and we can offer them different things such as campaigns or advertising, and then that will help us grow our subscriber base or our customer base as well at the top of that, and that flywheel continues. So that's really what we've distilled, pun intended, down as the business kind of fundamentals of our growth, which have achieved some really nice metrics to date. So about 40,000 customers there acquired since we launched, $10 million since inception as well. As I mentioned, 1 million tasters, over 100,000 boxes delivered, 5.8 average orders per customer, and a very high repeat customer rate for e-commerce as well. So using these methodologies of our growth, we don't obviously just want to focus on Australia. We want to focus on expanding the business, and that is where a large portion of the use of funds will go. we're going to go international. That's the plan. Here's a little bit of a snapshot of some of the markets and some of the liquor verticals as well around the world. Surprisingly, it's actually worth more than the wine market, which is great. So total revenues for spirits is actually 570 billion. Now, this is using some information that we've got in the references down below. More information will be provided as well in the crowdfunding document. But as you can see, that there is a big portion of the total market dedicated to whiskey. That's why we launched with whiskey. Currently, we're operating in Australia, though we do have aspirations to launch around Asia. Singapore and Hong Kong is our first two targets, as well as looking at United States and Europe in the long term as well. So what we've achieved really to date is a product people love, and I think, and I hope customers here, and if you have used the product, you'll agree with me there. It's a great product. People do love it. A diversified revenue streams. We've got direct to consumer and we've got retail, passionate core team. Nothing would be possible without the team that we've got today, and a strong strategic vision and global opportunity. Where we're heading is building out that core leadership team, really making sure that we've got our long-term plans covered by some very experienced people within the team to focus on those additional channels. Scale our customer acquisition. There's still a lot we could be doing within Australia in terms of advertising and marketing. Execute the expansion plans and invest further into our core tech. Towards the longer term, we're looking to create economies of scale through our tech and logistics, build further IP and within our spirits recommendations, and sell the data back to distilleries in terms of insights and campaigns. So we've essentially used this strategy to break up the use of funds. So 40% of it will go to operations and expansion, 40% to marketing and talent, so bolstering the team and bolstering our customer acquisition channels as well. Not just doing online, but going offline, so that we can make sure that we're reaching people of our target audience, which not always are the millennials. That we do have a large audience within the kind of 40 to 60 age bracket. So we need to make sure that we're on channels that they will be using as well, expanding the product range and investing further into tech and data. I might have run through that quite quickly, but I'm more than happy to open up the table to field some questions and go through that in further detail as we progress.
Brilliant. I've already had a few people chime in and ask if we can send them through the slides afterwards. We'll actually be sending you through a recording afterwards as well. So if anybody would like to rewatch it, you're absolutely welcome to. We'll also be sending you through the offer document as soon as the offer opens next week also. So what does the next 12 months look like for you, Joel?
Great question. So the next 12 months is really around building that core leadership team. So hiring some key people within marketing and sales, because we've had so much success within retail that we want to make sure that we're continuing that, as well as looking towards expansion. So expanding overseas does require some operational elements to be resolved first, such as warehouse and licensing, for instance. So investing in the proper process to achieve those licenses and to test out our export capabilities. We have a go-to-market strategy in place and a consultant already working for us in Hong Kong. So we do have some of the elements already set up, but there is a lot of preparation that we need to do in order to expand successfully and put those metrics in place so that we know what the next step is after we do launch that new market.
Awesome. So do you have any issues around your IP or defensibility of your product?
So in terms of IP, we have trademarks. We have specific trademarks for the Liquor Loot, Whiskey Loot, and Gin Loot brands. Unfortunately, it is hard or impossible to trademark an idea. This is something that people can go and do themselves if they have the relationships with distilleries. They have the capabilities, they have the product knowledge, the import, export, and the team and the marketing and everything else. Obviously, it does come down to the capabilities of that person or company to achieve said goals. And at the end of the day, we think we've got a great brand and we've got somewhat of a first mover advantage in Australia to achieve our desired kind of projections. But we don't have a complete kind of right or license that no one else can come in and do what we're doing. Nor does any other e-commerce business, if they're setting up whatever it is that they want to do. The market is the market.
Yeah, absolutely, fair enough. Are there any competitors that you're aware of in the space?
So when we launched around a similar time, there was another whiskey competitor. They soon somewhat disappeared. More recently, there's been two smaller competitors that have come up as well. They don't seem to be a threat as of yet, but who knows what direction they'll take in the future. It is outlined in our risks in the offer document as well. We believe we've got a great team and a strong brand and a good strategic vision. And most importantly, backing from some great investors and obviously a great community that has rallied together under the EOIs to show a lot of interest. And I believe that at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the capabilities of the team and the business to be able to navigate that competition and make sure that it is irrelevant, really.
Yeah, right. So could exclusivity be sought with distilleries?
Yes, it could. So that is definitely something that we have thought about. But as I've mentioned, it hasn't been the other competitors that we have noticed in the market haven't been so much of a threat as of yet to go out and request exclusivity. We do have some great relationships with our suppliers, and that is definitely something that we could do. I definitely wouldn't rule it out if it came down to it. Yeah, I think that could work. But we'll need to see what the specifics are around the business case and have a look case by case on the particular distilleries that we work with.
Yeah, right. So I know that you mentioned that you're going to be branching out into other spirits. Which are the first ones that you're going to tackle?
That's a great question. So this has been an internal discussion for quite some time now about what the third variant would be. And it may not be a typical subscription offering similar to the gin and whiskey playlists that we've got, which both run for 12 months. For instance, vodka, we might not be able to get 36 different vodkas that all show different characteristics. And we've actually made some moves around our website, around our subscription engine, in order to make sure that we have the next liquor vertical being something that is flexible and modular. What I mean by that is the subscription technology that we've implemented into the new Liquor Loot site will allow us to have a subscription engine that can flick between whiskey and gin and vodka and tequila and rum. So it's more of a mix and match approach. And that's essentially what the third vertical will be. It'll be a combination and more of a tech solution that enables people, to move between subscriptions. So it might be, for instance, they'll do a 3-month whiskey followed by a 2-month tequila followed by a 4-month rum, and they can ebb and flow and change that as they wish.
So what currently inspires your collections and how you structure the subscriptions as a whole? And do you envision that shareholders after this raise will be able to put their input behind what's going forward with the brand?
So the way we've got our subscription currently, and I'll use the whiskey one as an example because it was our first one. Originally, we had a subscription that rolled month to month. So, for instance, everyone on the subscription would get the January box if they were in January, or if it was January. About 18 months ago, we moved to a playlist model, which is a unique innovation that we've got within our business. We haven't replicated it from anywhere else. Essentially, it is a subscription that is timed based on when you started to subscribe. So you're either on box number 1 or box number 6 or box number 9. It depends on where you're up to. So the way we created that was essentially basing it on our understanding and our feedback from consumers, as well as our expertise and the team's expertise, really, at the end of the day, with creating a sequence of boxes that actually built up someone's knowledge and education without frightening them or kind of putting anything too difficult to understand in the first or second or third box. So we really build it up from, say, Scottish whiskey to history of whiskey to an introduction to Australian, Japanese, and American whiskies, and then evolve the taste profile. So the more complex, the more unique and rarer whiskies are towards the end of the playlist than the beginning. Now, coming back to the question on feedback from investors, that's definitely something I think we will end up doing because we've got such a great audience. We've got a great community of customers, and we will have a great community of investors in the future as well. So sending out a survey saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this particular box. Please help us select the top 3 that go into it. That's definitely something that is on the cards for the future.
Yeah, brilliant. It sounds great. So you've mentioned that in the past you've done fundraising through various different channels. Why did you decide to do equity crowdfunding now? So I've always wanted to do equity crowdfunding, and it kind of came down to timing. And the equity crowdfunding has allowed us to kind of reach out to our customers, and we've always had a lot of inquiries from customers around investing, and it's always been quite difficult depending on the minimum parcel size that they wanted to get involved in. So we thought we would open it up now and give people the opportunity, as well as having an option there for strategic investors, obviously, that can come through. And that really comes down to the relationship that we've got with past investors that are supporting our crowdfunding approach. It is a great source of advocacy, I should say, from our existing customer base, gets them involved, helps us from a business perspective, obviously, achieve our goals and bring us closer to achieving our long-term vision. Amazing. Will you be offering investor rewards for this round of funding?
We've decided not to. We have looked at other businesses that have done investor rewards, and we believe that investors should look at our business holistically based on our historical projections and based on the number of EOIs and interest that we've got under this campaign. If we did, say, 10% off for life or something like that, it would start to affect our numbers quite a lot. So we want to really base the business and the historics and our projections based on facts, and looking to the future and maintaining those margins and maintaining that profitability maintaining our margins and growing towards profitability is something we're very laser focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the end, it's going to all help for the investors at the end of the day. So absolutely makes
Exactly.
sense. So in terms of your competitors, how do you compare with service and price?
So in terms of the competitors, we are cheaper for our main subscription, which is historically at $59 a month. Due to inflationary pressure, we have decided to move the price to $64 a month for new subscribers for our Whiskey Loot product. And that was because essentially we haven't changed the price in 4 or 5 years. So we decided it was a good time to do that and just kind of adjust for things. The service has always been better in what we're doing. So the experience comes with a full dashboard where the customer, the subscriber can log in and see all the videos and upcoming boxes that they've got on their playlist, and rate and review the products as they go. And we're very much focused on that tech side of the business to make improvements over time to the experience. On top of that, our products are not just e-commerce, as we've mentioned. So compared to competitors that are focusing solely on e-commerce, we've got retail, we've got one-off packs on our online store as well, and we've got seasonal product launches like advent calendars that are very popular. So as a holistic business, I feel like we've got a great competitive advantage compared to them.
Yeah, fantastic. So going forward, after you've completed this raise, how often will you be communicating with your new investors?
So I think we'll put together a quarterly update, which will just be kind of a video or kind of an email update. We have the option, obviously, of putting together further updates from then as well, and we'll kind of see how we go with the feedback that we're getting from current investors at the time. But I think a quarterly update, just basing it on where we are at and kind of some of the goals we've achieved and what we've got planned for the next quarter is definitely something I'm interested in doing.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. So going forward, if anybody wants to purchase one of your packs, where can they do this from?
So liquorloot.com is where you can purchase from an e-commerce perspective. If you're nearby a local Dan Murphy's, we're currently on the shelves there as well. And you'll find our Father's Day pack there at the moment. And David Jones has some packs coming up as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think this might be all of the questions we've got today. But of course, if anybody has any questions at all after today's session, you're most welcome to reach out to Birchal at birchal.com, or Joel himself. You can find all of his contact details via the Birchal profile or also via any of the emails that we'll be sending out. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Joel, thank you so much for coming along today. We really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Take care.